Here we are for the first coffee session of 2021. Welcome back, everyone. We have got an incredible session for you. This is going to be talking about actually, let me break down how this happened first, because we put up, I think it was a short clip, if I'm not mistaken, Marian, and Marian commented on this clip, on the YouTube clip, and he said, "Oh yeah, there's a lot of great underrated topics that are coming up in ML ops and ML in general." And so it got the wheels turning in my head, and I thought, man, we should have a coffee session on some of the most underrated topics in ML ops. And of course, I invited Marian to join us because he mentioned, "Hey, why don't you do one about this?" I think it was you that actually mentioned it, wasn't it? Now that my
Yeah,
memory
it was
doesn't
me.
serve me so well.
Yeah, that's correct. It was me on
Yeah,
YouTube.
there you go. It was that's how it happened. And so we're here now. We've got my man Vishnu back in action. We all
Hello.
had an incredible New Year's and holiday break, and we're back with more power and energy to get the ball rolling for 2021. So let's talk about this underrated topics in ML ops and some of the things that we came up with. And Miriam, maybe we should just start with a bit of an introduction from you to get to know you a little bit better, and then we can jump
Oh,
into these underrated topics.
sure. Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you guys for what you are doing. Actually, I think it's very important because a couple of years ago, when I started to looking for more for machine learning and AI, I figured out that who the heck have to do all the stuff? Who the heck should do this thing? What people I should hire for
Yeah.
doing AI and machine learning and stuff like that? And after that, I figured out that should be another because we are doing. I will tell you more what we are doing, but in most of the if in most of the time we are doing DevOps stuff, infrastructure stuff, and in terms of deployments, there is a gap of professionals who have to do the deployments, and MLOps are the guys that naturally came up to the field. So thank you very much for doing all of this. I think it's very important. I think that you are doing it in very funny way. And for that reason, my team was inspired and have created something very specially. They were inspired from the Christmas episode that Dimitrios have launched, and that's
Oh, no
why
way.
Dimitrios, this is especially for you, man.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Wait,
Yeah,
I
so
can't see it. But you got to
uh,
talk real fast.
The unicorn wine glass.
yes, with your haircut.
Ah, that's great. That is great.
So cheers, everybody, and it was very interesting 2020. So I hope 2021 to be the greatest in the machine learning and AI world. So it'll be one of the greatest years. So cheers, everybody.
Dude, that wine
Yeah.
glass is
Cheers.
absolutely epic. Can we
Cheers, my
sell that
coffee.
as MLOps merch?
Oh, sorry.
Can we sell that as MLOps merch?
Of
Was it?
course.
It was handmade though, huh? It looks very
Yes,
handmade.
yes, it
Wow.
is.
That's
Somebody
awesome.
on your team is an incredible designer slash drawer slash creative.
Thank you. The
So,
girls' names are Irena and Vessi, so they will be very happy when they see this episode and
oh, nice.
when they watch it. So
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Thank you to both of them.
That's awesome.
back to your question. Actually, I don't like to talk about me because I think this is selfish. But anyways, I'll share some some stuff about me. I started with the computer, let's say computer stuff, the computers. I think 20 years ago, and my first professional experience with with the servers and all the infrastructure stuff was in my kitchen when I became a student here in Sofia, Bulgaria. When I live where I live now, and actually I started with 42 rack server rack in my kitchen. With a lot of hardware there, and this was the start of my first hosting company. It was epic failure. It was there were a lot of interesting stuff that happened. First problem that I met, and I actually I didn't know why happened that back on that time, but the problem was that these servers were so noisy, and I started to receive complaints from the neighbors and from the police because something is happening there. It's very noisy there. We can't sleep. And
wow, that's amazing.
yeah, and a lot of stuff happened after that. And I failed, as I mentioned. But anyways, I decided that this is something interesting for me. I love servers. I love to deal with them. They're very good friends if you care about them. So I started very excitedly in a hosting company, one of the biggest hosting company for shared hosting, and I started, of course, as a person dealing with servers, as a web designer, web front-end developer. So I was how to say it, a bit lame for something else, but for the front-end developer, I was perfect back in these days. So I worked for a hosting company, which is called SiteGround. After that, I started in one of the biggest telecoms here in Bulgaria as a backend engineer and R&D engineer. After that, I continued to actually I changed a little bit my employer there. I became a product manager, and I started to become bored from the job. And after that, back in 2015, I think, we started CloudStrap, which was the first idea of CloudStrap was platform as a service company. But after that, we switched the focus there, and we changed it to a digital transformation solution for enterprises. And 2016, I think, we started another product, which is called Sushido. Sushido is a backend as a service platform for mobile and web developers, focusedly there. And last year, we started another product of CloudStrap, which is teachablehub.com, which will be our managed service for machine learning models and machine learning deployments.
Oh, nice.
And the best part of this is that we want to contribute. So we want to contribute to the community and to the world and to the AI. And that's why we decided in our business model to offer free resources and free every model deployed in public access. So something like GitHub, it will be free. So APIs will be free, and everybody in the world can use it for free. And the costs are on us. So this is something that we think it's important, because we know and we want machine learning to be accessible, and to be accessible is the great start right now.
Yeah, democratizing it a little bit.
Yes.
So you mentioned something interesting there at the start, and I think it's important to note that we're looking at how and who does what in the teams. And that, for me, is a great way to kick off our most underrated kind of obstacles that you run into right at the beginning of trying to figure out this whole MLOps puzzle is, and I think it's also not only is it like, oh, there's a data scientist that's doing one thing that maybe should they be doing that? Does a data scientist need to learn Kubernetes? And then there's like does a data engineer fit into this? Yes. Okay, but how? And then you also have like SREs, because Vishnu and I talked to Todd Underwood, I think it was right before the break, and he's an SRE for the ML platform at Google.
Yeah.
So who do you need and what should they be doing, I think is something that we can dive into a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Actually, this is a really interesting question because there is really no definition of what these positions should be and what they should do. Because, for example, with the data scientists, these guys are scientists. They are not engineers. In their PhDs, they are learning about neural net architectures, about algorithms, about statistics, maths, and stuff like that. They don't have any experience or any knowledge with the engineering part of the software development, of software engineering and stuff like that. For them, Docker, for you, could be a very, let's say, native thing and something that you don't think about it. You are doing it very naturally, but for them, this is a great danger or great how to say challenge in their job. And if I came back a little more, the interesting stuff, another interesting topic and thought is that why actually, because I think why actually the deployment is underrated topic at all, and why it's why most of the companies don't think more about that and don't invest money on that and stuff like that. First of all, I think that a lot less companies are achieving the successful models that should be deployed in production. So the success rate is very low because there is a big risk and there is a lot of challenges during the training process and during the producing the right software for the deployment. And most of the companies that are successful in this are actually the big companies because they have a lot of money to invest in the experience, to the tries and stuff like that. And for the small companies, it's almost impossible to do it. And what the management and what the people who are decided to involve machine learning and to integrate machine learning in the companies are thinking, okay, just like if we want to, let's say, build a mobile application for our product, I would like to start machine learning in our company or deep learning, doesn't matter. So how will we start? We will start with data scientists because without data scientists, we can't do it. Or we should start with machine learning engineer. What's the difference between machine learning engineer? And they are starting with the interviews.
Exactly.
And from the data scientists, couple of the data scientists, they do, let's say, only scikit-learn stuff or machine learning. The other ones are great in, let's say, deep learning with computer vision and stuff like that. Machine learning engineers are telling that, oh, guys, I'm a machine learning engineer. I do only deep learning. So your problem is not in my field or something else. And the people are going crazy. What people I should hire and stuff like that. And after that, of course, they, let's say, hire data scientists. And after, if the data scientists have some success with the prototype, they do some successful prototype, and they have to deploy it. And what's happened after that? And what now? who have to do the stuff? Who have to do the job? Should it be the data scientist? Should it be the PHP engineer? I mean, the PHP backender or the CTO of the company? Who should be this guy? Or we should hire another stuff? And there is a lot of mess there. And the reason for all of this is that the community and the technologies are very young, and there is no standardization. There is no knowledge about that, enough knowledge. Most of the knowledge is in the very big company, in Google and Apple and Microsoft and the biggest one, IBM and stuff like that. So it's a very tricky question, and there's a lot of options, a lot of opportunities. There is different challenges. Yeah. What do you think, guys, about that?
Yeah, nice to flip the question. I mean, I think you hit it spot on. I think in terms of talking about how the different roles interact with one another, the uncertainty around who does what, and that's the big thing, right? Who does what? I actually love the question that you started off this conversation with, which is like, okay, I want to do machine learning. Who the heck do I start with, right? And when you frame it that way, it's like the beginner mindset, right? You don't come like we come to this field with all these different knowledges. We're ML engineers, we're data scientists, but let's forget all that. If you're someone that just wants to do machine learning, who do you hire? I know that if I want for, accounting, I hire an accountant.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And there's a clear set of responsibilities for that person. And there's a clear obligation that person has to the company, or an outcome that person will give to the company. And I think that's, where I have seen in companies that have been successful, the companies I respect, the people I respect, they're very clear about what value they're contributing to the company, regardless of title. And I think, that it takes a good structure for that to occur.
This is something that I remember when Elizabeth was on the meetup, and she was talking about how she'll come in as a consultant, and a lot of times it's not even clear if the company has potential for ML yet, because they don't have the right data, or they think they have the data, but it's not good data. And so there's a lot of factors that play into it. Maybe you find the right person, but then that person can't do anything with what you've got, right? So it's a very, very difficult obstacle, and you have to be very clear about what you want. So Vishnu, I think that was an awesome point too, how you were saying, let's look at this and say, what's our problem that we're trying to solve, and then go hire around that. Like, actually, someone just said that in the community Slack about how, don't go out and buy a tool. Try and figure out what's the thing that you need, and then go find a tool that does that. Yeah. So these are great points. I really, really enjoy that. But I cut you off, Vishnu. I know you were going to say something else.
No, I mean, I think I was just going to say, I think the point that you made there about the quality of the data also is huge, right? A lot of times when people come into machine learning roles as a first person, I saw this at my company, you have to create the data. There's no data set waiting for you. There's no, there's no CSV with labels on the left, features on the right, and say, okay, Mr. Data Scientist or machine learning engineer, go to town, right? Creating the data is machine learning nowadays. It is at that point, right, where we are getting into such domains and such specific domains, specific problems. And I think that's a really underrated part. Speaking of underrated topics, right?
Yeah.
That's an underrated topic. So, I mean, my question to you, Marian, is, these are all great insights. How are you solving them at your company? How are you thinking about this problem and applying it to your company?
Actually, this is very, very interesting question. And let me start with different angle. Why I think that deployment of the machine learning is or machine learning models, let's say, it's a bit underrated. If you think of that, when you Google for how to deploy, let's say, scikit-learn model or TensorFlow model or stuff like that, you are actually finding a lot of articles that are showing almost the exact 10 lines of code. Import, pickle load, flask up something, and server run. That's it. And most of the people are seeing these lines, they say, okay, so machine learning deployment is super easy stuff. But if this is the guy from, let's say, a big e-commerce with, let's say, $10 million of revenue per day, and for example, accuracy of the model, I mean, 1% of the model accuracy is equal to, let's say, $100,000 per day. So the monitoring is very important in that matter. But when you see this and when you read this article, there is nothing about monitoring. There is nothing about concept drifting, data drifting, and stuff like that. And for I don't know, good or bad, last year actually showed us that data drift can be a real danger, and this is the COVID situation. We had some customers that we talk about with them about their problems with the COVID. They had e-commerce, they had retail, I mean offline stores, and they are models, and they had lack of monitoring of this stuff. And what's happened one day is that most of the items of the product were in their warehouse for their offline stores, and almost nothing in the online. But the situation was completely different, and this was because last year was the pattern and stuff like that. So they weren't ready for that change.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard stories of so many businesses where, you have all this historic data and COVID just completely shattered it. So you are just, and you're sitting there saying, I mean, what's going to happen in the future? I have nothing to predict on. I have nothing I can do traditional machine learning stuff on. Yeah, no, it's such a good point.
Yeah. So your question was how we are doing it. This is very interesting question indeed. So today, most of the companies are actually having probably three options when they need to let's say solve some problem. To do it yourself, to buy a service, I mean ready to use service, or to use some or couple of open source softwares and to integrate them and to produce something. And this is a real tricky question. How to start and how should we start? I have actually a very strict policy. I mean, for my decisions regarding this is, if I can buy a service, I mean that will bring me speeds, reduce risk and stuff like that at the beginning. And after that, if I want to host it myself, I should be able to do it, or should be very easily to migrate from this service to another service in order to store the IP and the stuff in my company, in my field. This is the great solution for me. I see a lot of companies start doing something from scratch and do it yourself. And for right now in the software engineering and having GitHub with all the open source stuff, all these companies that are bringing super good and super great ideas and softwares, I think this is a time waster, a big time waster, because at the beginning you want to do something, and every time it looks like something very simple and a microservice that do that. And the second day is, okay, let's add this stuff. On the third day, let's add this stuff, and so on and so forth. After that, we start reaching some problems, challenges, and a lot of stuff. And in a year and a half, you have 15 people working on this very small thing at the beginning. And after 2 years, you figure out that there is a great open source software or a great product out there that is doing all of this stuff much better than you and much more. So I think that do it yourself is not a great start. Could be something that you can do when you have a lot of experience and you know what exactly should do, and there is nothing else on the market, so you're unique and you don't have choice, and you have to do it by yourself. But to start with, it's not a good option. So we left with two other options. Buy something that is working, I mean managed service or anything else that is working, or use open source software and host it somewhere and do it. So this depends on your team and your company. If you have experience to do it. I mean, it's if you are a big team, you're a big company, so probably the cost should be something that matters for you. or maybe a time. If the time matter for you, probably you should buy something ready to use, to experiment, to start doing and stuff like that. If you know what you have to do and you have some experience, and the cost or security or I don't know, ownership is very important to you, so probably you should use open source software. And yeah, this is actually how we are doing in the company, and how we decide what to use, how to do the stuff, and yeah.
There's so many interesting points that you bring up on this idea of, are we going to go open source? Are we going to build it ourselves? Are we going to do a mix of the two? Or are we just going to get some managed service? And one thing that I think about is when we talked to Neil from Monzo Bank, and he mentioned how buying something will kind of leapfrog you. So just like you said, if you're a small team and you're looking to get into this and get some quick wins, then it's probably going to be a better idea to just buy something so that you can get that win and you're good. But for him, it wasn't the case. It was like, no, we want to make something very custom, and we want to make something that is for us. So what we're doing is investing in our own infrastructure in their building. And the one thing that comes up in my mind that I find really I haven't figured out why yet. And I asked this at a meetup a few weeks back, and people were talking about how just new the field is. So it's not really commonplace to see so many managed service offerings, and to be like very comfortable with the managed service offerings that you do see, right? So the thing that I was thinking about was, wow, in traditional software development now, managed services, you hear a lot of great engineers talking about how if you can get it as a managed service, it's always better to do it that way because it's easier and you don't have to wake up at 2 a.m.
Yeah, 2 a.m. Yeah, you should
problems.
fix. Yeah.
Yeah. So with ML tooling, I don't see as much of that. I don't see people so excited to jump on the managed service bandwagon yet. And that might change. That is, I mean, who's to say
that will definitely change, actually, I think.
Yeah, you think so? And
yeah.
So what are your thoughts around why that hasn't happened yet and why it will change?
I think the answer for that question is very simple, in my opinion, of course. Right now, everyone is passionate about that, and there is almost nothing on the market. So there are a lot of field of exploration, a lot of field of innovation and stuff like that. And I think that's the natural way to develop this ecosystem with the tools and the stuff like that. There is no other way to develop it because most of the tools couldn't be monetized. So there is no reason to do business about that. But there are a lot of tools that should be open source, that should be free in order to bring the machine learning, engineering, development, and a lot of stuff on the next level. So this is the very natural way for me right now, all of these things that are happening. After that, when we have most of the tools, when we have the Git for the machine learning, when we have the Kubernetes and all the stuff, when we have the GitHub, most of the basic stuff, and then we will focus more on the results. I mean, more on the productivity, more on the quantity and the quality, and then we should focus all our attention and all our energy, especially to these results, not to the equipment, not to the tools and the stuff like that. They will be there. So, in my opinion, this is the reason and why this will change in the future.
Yeah, that's a great vision. And go ahead.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense, Marian. And I think exactly what you said, right? We're starting with exploration, and over time, we will start to focus exclusively on results, right? And that's a natural process. I think when I was listening to you talk about the open source versus do it yourself versus buy it, it reminded me of in a community, we make this analogy a lot. MLOps is just DevOps with the flair, right?
Yeah.
And DevOps, there's a lot of work around specific models of adoption, right? How do you be a change agent in your company? How do you demonstrate the application of a tool? When do you do something custom versus not? And we will develop that over time, right? For MLOps, and as the results that companies need become more clear and standard, we will start to see the same kind of adoption processes, the same kind of knowledge building that will allow people to take advantage of machine learning in a more sort of regularized and standard fashion.
Of course.
Yeah, that's also a great point.
Yeah, so
I wanted to just jump in real fast too, just to mention that I think right now it's also very difficult for most people to really get a lay of the land, like you were talking about, how there's so many tools out there and there's so many different open source projects, and how do I know what's going to keep going, what this does and how it fits into my stack, and how it is able to integrate with this other tool that I was thinking about using. And so there's not really this clear idea of, okay, if I need to do machine learning, I'm going to need one of these from these toolings. I'm going to probably need some of this and a little bit of that sprinkled on top. What I feel like you definitely are starting to see is there are like the congregations that are happening that you'll see, okay, there's maybe in this field, like pipelines, you see we need some kind of pipelining or monitoring. You brought that up earlier, or now feature stores, or
another concept.
What?
Or another concept.
Yeah, exactly. And so what is really hard though right now is that there are so many different avenues that someone can take. So imagine being the person in your shoes, right? Like going back to what you had to go through, and you're saying, all right, we want to do ML at my company. So who do I hire? And what tools do I give them? What data do they need? Like they're going to have to figure that one out. That might take a long time. And so how can we get the quickest wins possible here? It's a really, really difficult problem to tackle. And that's why you see all these Gartner reports that say, it takes, or 8 out of 10 machine learning models never get into production, or whatever it is. Like we've all seen those statistics. And so that's an interesting beast to tackle. And I think these are all like the intricate parts of machine learning, and if you want to do it, how to look at it. And so that's my rant. I don't know if you wanted to add anything onto it.
You are doing very great points. And I was talking about it, my colleagues, exactly the same thing with most of the technologies and the projects that are coming day after day. Every day there is no project, no idea, no new concept and stuff like that. And the problem with most of them actually is what you're mentioning. You can't actually figure it out. What's the main focus of these tools? What are actually they are doing best than the other? If they are, let's say, full stack solution, can I integrate it with my existing stuff? Can I integrate it, let's say, with the AWS services, or with the Azure services, or with Kubeflow I'm using right now, or the other stuff? This is not obvious. You can figure it out very easily. You can figure it out how they will develop their future. They will be integratable with the new stuff that are coming. How fast they will move forward and stuff like that. And
how much momentum is behind them.
Exactly. And the best solution and the best approach, in my opinion, of course, is to start small and start simple, because it will be to focus only on simple problem that you can bring more value than the others. because in this way you can be very visible for everybody that you are the best solution for exactly this stuff. It could be just a bit thing, a very small, tiny thing, but you are the best on that. And the answer, can I integrate it with all the other solutions? Yes, you can, because this is a very, very tiny bit that could be integrated with everything. This is not a great or full stack solution that you need to change all your processes, all your stuff to start using it, start testing it, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's something else that I think, I don't know yet. The jury's still out for me, if it helps or if it hinders. But you see on Medium and on Twitter and LinkedIn and all the time about like, here's what the landscape looks like, and you're just hit with a wall of companies,
Yeah,
and then a wall of different like areas and what they do. It's like that for me confuses me more than it helps me sometimes. I look at it and it's like great to see, oh, there's a new company in this field, or there's a new company doing this. But for a lot of the time, I'm like, wait, what is that? And why would I need it? Oh, I only need it if I'm doing this very specific type. But it goes back to your point that, like, yeah, start small. So you're going to have a million companies. If everyone's starting small and they're able to do it, then you're going to see these like landscape diagrams where it has a ton of different companies.
You are not alone here. I mean, I think everyone is blown away with the quantity of new software and new ideas and concepts are coming every day. So I think it's very hard right now to figure it out. I mean, even for people that are trying to be on the edge of the wave, I mean, to inform every day for the new stuff, that are part of the communities talking about this stuff, like you guys, I think it's very, 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 very hard to be on the edge of the wave.
Yeah, I think Dimitrios, the number of landscape posts that you see, it's so many. I think the question that I kind of have about talking about this is just like, when we're talking about standardization and how that happens, right? How are you guys thinking about it? You're a company that's focused on deployment, on monitoring. How are you guys making the case for how standardization should occur in your specific niche in MLOps? How do you make that case?
In my opinion, here is the most important thing is to have some standardization. I mean, just to have it. That doesn't matter. This is the best way, or there is another best way. This is not important, especially at the beginning. The most important thing is to have some standardization. And if you have so if you do a mistake, or if you are doing an error with this, or a mistake with your structure, with your standardization policy and stuff like that, should be mistaken everywhere. So just like my partner Pavel says, if you are doing a mistake somewhere, do it everywhere, because it will be very easy to find and replace it after that. Because we see most of the people.
I like that.
Yeah, and the developers, what are doing? They are starting with something. Oh, this is our protocol, or this is our way to do something. And in 2 weeks, they are, of course, improving. They are growing as engineers and developers and experts, and they decided to improve it. But they do not refactor the old code or the old stuff. And after that, you are actually having systems with 13 versions of something, which is a big mess.
Yeah.
And after that, how you do monitoring of, let's say, 13 different outputs of data, or how to do monitoring of 13 different outputs of your logs and stuff like that. So that's why standardization, in my opinion, is very important, and doesn't matter what your standard is.
And before we jump in,
standardization,
I want to make one more point about the standardization, and also the idea here that we were talking about, this, the landscape that we're in right now. And you see this gigantic landscape pictures, and I notice that when we talk to, again, I'll reference talking to Todd, who's an SRE at Google. He's the ML SRE. He said something that stuck with me, and I've been thinking about it a lot. And it's that we haven't seen strong PMs in machine learning yet. Like in MLOps, there's been no strong PMs that come out and say, here's how we're doing it, this is why we're doing it, and this is the way to do it. And ideally you have many of those who can discuss between each other, right? And then we all learn from them because they have their opinions and they are able to debate on why their opinions are the better opinions. And so just back to the standardization of the tooling industry, I feel like that will happen at some point. It's just the marks of a very new industry that we're living in right now, right? And so you see all these different tools, and I imagine they're going to be consolidated as time goes on, or you'll see clear winners. But I think it's a fascinating place where we're at right now to look at and look out and just see the sea of tooling companies and all of that. But I know I wanted to get into monitoring with you. Vishnu, I think you had a question on monitoring.
Yeah, I mean, so we have talked a lot about standardization, about all the different tools that are out there. And I agree with you, going back to the very topic here, monitoring is an underrated component, right? Because I think, and the reason why it's underrated is because a lot of companies, they almost assume, with the way that they approach problems, that they're never going to get to the production phase, right? And it's something we'll solve when we get there. When in reality, I think you would probably also agree with this, that monitoring is just as crucial to the setup of the problem, and it helps you make sure that your solution is working at all times, right? And that's something you want. You don't want a solution that works one week and doesn't the next, like with the COVID situation. So talk to me about monitoring. I have a model, I'm a data scientist at a company, and now I think, I want to deploy it. Where does monitoring fit in, and what are the things I should be thinking about as I do that?
This is very interesting question here, and I can actually connect the standardization and the monitoring as well, because when you speak with the companies, different companies, and they say, oh, our monitoring is quite unique, and there is no other stuff, and there is no other way to monitor it. We have the know-how, what exactly to monitor and stuff like that. But actually, when you are let's say approaching a computer vision problem, there is a couple of stuff that are very important to all of the companies. Okay, there is a few stuff that are unique for the companies. I'm pretty agree with that, but most of the stuff are actually quite the same. And I think that one of the challenges here is the lack of the knowledge in the different fields. What are the important things that you should, let's say, monitor about that should think about that and stuff like that. And here I see a lot of opportunity to companies that are jumping in this field to provide exactly that knowledge. I mean, if we are talking about monitoring of servers, to monitor the IOPS, to monitor the VRAM, to monitor I don't know, the CPU and the disk, the health of the disk and stuff like that. I mean, these stuff are, how to say, native. These stuff are by default. So I think that there is a lot of opportunity here for these companies to do the by default stuff. So if we are doing fraud detection, there is the stuff that you should need to monitor. Okay, integrate this SDK and you will monitor everything. And when we have SDKs and when we have these, let's say, services or softwares, we will do a better job with our actually software. And because if we integrate our software with these SDKs, we actually will do something that we, after that, can change the solution of monitoring. So we will need the exact data that is needed to bring the results of the monitoring. So we can do it by ourselves after that if we if we decided to, and stuff like that. Because at the beginning, as I mentioned, we don't have the knowledge. We don't have how to achieve some goal, how to start. Because when you, let's say, develop an API output or API design, there is a lot of options. There are a lot of ways to do it, and probably most of them are true, are okay. The difference is the pros and cons. So there are different pros and cons, and you can't easily figure it out what's our solution. So if we start with something and if it doesn't work as well, you will start with some basis. You will know what to do if you want to do it yourself after that, and you can jump on it after that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, right? Which is, start with something, something is better than nothing, and iterate based on that. I think a lot of times that's hard. We look for the perfect solution from the jump, especially because machine learning is supposed to be such a, we want it to be a precise field. We want it to be a high value field. And, we assume that any imperfection, dead saw reputation, and I think a lot of times machine learning professionals might struggle to acknowledge that, hey, these are the strengths of our approach and these are the deficits. These are the things that we don't yet know. And I think for us,
just like active learning, for example, when you start monitoring, there is no reason you to know what is active learning. But when you start with the monitoring and when you have some results and you need to figure it out, okay, guys, the production data is different than the training data. How to let's say refresh it, how to update it, and stuff like that. And after that, you find out that there is a way which is called active learning, and with a lot of stuff coming with it. And you start doing active learning, for example.
Yeah, right. So this is all a process of experimentation and learning, and we should be applying the same thing to the context of model monitoring. I think what you said also rings true about how the knowledge isn't there yet at our company. We're a healthcare company, and machine learning in healthcare, we don't necessarily know, because machine learning is unearthing, new correlations, new relationships that we don't necessarily know ourselves intuitively about, what the relationship is between data and certain outcomes. And because of that, it can be hard for us to know, okay, what should we be monitoring and what changes the nature of that relationship? We don't have any understanding of it. So, I mean, in that context, like, if I wanted to just get started, what's the first thing you would suggest? Let's say I'm in a computer vision sort of paradigm. How would you recommend people get started? Because I think there is a real lack of knowledge in terms of how to get started in the realm of model monitoring. It's something that I'm grappling with right now, actually, in my own company. I'm so interested to hear your perspective on it.
Actually, my formula for about all of this is just to move on. So everything that you will do and we will move on is the right thing. Because with every step you learn some new stuff. You will be much more confident about the next step. So this is the thing. Do not overthink it. Do not be let's say afraid to do something. Just do it. Because right now there is no wrong step. That's it. If you want to innovate in that field, there is no wrong step you can do.
That is such a great point. There's nothing wrong you can do, right? In the sense of if you're adding on or you're looking at this monitoring, don't be afraid of taking the wrong step.
Exactly.
Try something and it'll give you more confidence. I love that. And I think that's exactly the kind of, beginner mindset and approach that a lot of MLOps professionals really need to adopt. I mean, that's really, really, really agree with that. One thing I did actually want to ask you about very briefly is, you're in Sofia, right? And one thing I've noticed is that there are a lot of great ML companies in Eastern Europe. I mean, Grammarly, JetBrains, and, there's so many companies that are coming out in terms of machine learning, and our community also. There's so many great professionals from Eastern Europe. Can you talk to me a little bit about the ecosystem there? What's made it so fertile for machine learning to grow in the way that it has, and for great companies to come out?
Thank you very much for the kind words for our let's say region here, and I think that the main reason is because we are outside US and we are outside the big countries that's with a lot of cash and we want to be part of the world. And we actually really love to do what we are doing with the computer stuff, with the problems and that kind of stuff. And we invest a lot of effort in that field, and that's why we bring a result. I mean, we are not lazy. in other words, we are not lazy. We do this very, very, very hard. The other stuff that is important is because Eastern Europe is or was a very cheap outsourcing destination, and this is the true reason. And there are a lot of outside, I mean, US or UK or Western Europe knowledge from the companies that are starting offices here or that are bringing projects to the Eastern European companies. For example, one of the biggest R&D offices of Uber is here in Sofia, and actually most of the innovations are coming from here, from Sofia, in Uber. And okay, not most, but some of them. So this is not my expertise. I can't be so sure. But we have, let's say, in Sofia, IBM here, the R&D center, one of the biggest R&D centers of VMware are here in Sofia. And a lot of successful companies are here. So thanks to the knowledge of these companies from all around the world, we have, and it was a very, very great base for the community. And the result that we really enjoy the technologies and the innovations are the things that are spoiling everything and bringing these results.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's really great for me to hear, and I think for our listeners to hear what's going on in the world. And I didn't realize the extent to which that Sofia was a global engineering hub. Also for a lot of other companies. And I know that I'm definitely very excited to keep seeing companies pop up from that part of the world and share their knowledge, because I think the more people that we have across the globe that are working on MLOps, the better we're going to be able to solve everyone's problems.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really great to see the quality of the companies and the work that's coming out from places like Sofia.
Yeah, it's a little bit like it's what you said earlier, Marian, about the companies that are going to pop up, and we're going to evolve this because we're going to need to solve our problems, right? And so the more companies that come up and the more that are doing this, and then we're going to evolve together, hopefully, and make machine learning better and easier. And the classic metaphor that everyone says is like machine learning operations right now is what software engineering was in the 90s, right? We've all heard that one. It's like, it's too slow. It takes too long to iterate. And a lot of companies are trying to tackle that problem. A lot of our community is all about that. And I think we've discussed quite a few nice pieces to keep in mind as to why it takes so long and what things you need to be thinking about, not only on the tooling side, but also on the organizational side. And I like that you brought that into it, because that's potentially more important, right? So I'm very happy to have talked with you. I'm glad that you wrote that YouTube comment and that we got together to do this, because this is it's an awesome chat and it's super needed.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I really enjoyed the conversation with you guys. And
yeah, man.
Thank you very much.
Right on. Well, everyone, this is it. We're signing off. We will see you in the next coffee session. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
And look at that cup, man. That's so awesome.